Before we go on any further, I have to teach you how to use a calculator. So we're going to take a look real quick at how to use a calculator. So that's going to be step 4, how we use a calculator. All right, very important. Okay, what mode are you in? What mode are you in your calculator? Okay, so there are 2 modes. There's radians and there's degrees. Okay, and the way to remember which one you need to be in is what is a question given to you in. If the question is given to you in radians, then you need to be in radian mode. If it's given to you in degrees, then you need to be in degree mode. So here's a calculator. You're going to press mode and you're going to go down, and you see how you can make it degree by pressing enter. So the third one down, you move to the right, press enter, it's 9 degree. So you can go mode again. If you go down to radian, you can press enter on radian, turn it back. So just need to make sure that your mode is in the correct spot. Don't assume it. This is a listening check. Color in the word radians. Alright, so we're going to take a look at how to evaluate these. Alright, so we'll go ahead and copy these examples down. And I'm just going to teach you how to put them in the calculator. Alright, so let's start with the first one. So because the question is in degrees, you need to make sure that your mode is in degrees. Alright, so then you're going to go mode, go down to degree, press enter, and then press clear to get out of it. Then all you do is type it in. So cosine of 11 degrees is you type in cosine. So you see where it says cosine, type in cosine, it appears, and then you type in 11. And you can close the parentheses or just press enter, and that's fine. So cosine of 11 degrees is 0.98. And you want to make sure that you're doing this with me so you can make sure you understand how to use it. Tangent of 75 degrees, same thing, go to tan, press 75 degrees, and you should get 3.75. Again, make sure that you are pressing in the calculator and know. Tan y equals 0.6494 is a little bit different, so let me just give you a little background. If you had 2x equals 10 in a regular question, you would take the inverse of multiplication in order to solve it for x. In other words, what am I saying? I'm saying that you would divide both sides by 2 in order to isolate the variable by itself. It's the same kind of idea when you have tan or sine or cosine of some letter equals something. So what you want to do is you want to take the inverse of tan to get just the variable by itself, to isolate it, to get rid of that tan, because the tan and the y is not multiplication. So you take the inverse of tan, which is written as tan to the negative 1, and the way you get that is by hitting shift and then tan. The inverse of cosine, shift cosine. The inverse of sine, shift sine. So let's do that. So you have y, to isolate y, you'd have y equals, and I would take the inverse, so I would say tan inverse of negative 1 of 0.6494 and put that in the calculator. The listening check, put a box around shift tan. So I press shift, which if you don't have shift, it's second, that blue button on the top. So you press shift and then tan, and you'll see it say tan negative 1. And then you punch in the number that you want and you press enter. So the nearest degree is 33 degrees. Okay, so it's relatively easy. You just need to remember the inverse of tan, sine, and cosine is tan to the negative 1, cosine to the negative 1, and sine to the negative 1. And you get it by pressing second or shift, depending on your calculator. Alright, so let's do another one. So again, sine of c, to isolate c, you take the inverse of sine, because that sine is the one that's bothering it, and you punch in the calculator. So second, then the sine, then that appears, then the number, and so that's equal to about 46 degrees, if we just round it. Okay, so that's how you use a calculator. Another thing that I want to show you, because I've seen it in a test, is converting radians and degrees. So you can go back and forth between radians and degrees. Now the biggest thing to remember is 1 radian, which we write as pi, is 180 degrees. So 1 radian is 180 degrees. And then you set it up every question just like you did when you did similar figures. Okay, so 1 radian is the same as 180 degrees, and pi represents a radian. So in example 5, if the question was convert 325 degrees into radians, so you'd set it up like we did with similar figures. So degree with degree, radians with radians. So I'm going to say x radians because that's the question. I want to know how many radians it is, right? And then you got to set it up 180 degrees underneath a degree, and then 1 radian underneath radian. Once you have that, it's just like we did before. Cross multiply and divide. So let's cross multiply. So you're going to get 325 pi equals 180x. Divide both sides by 180. And all I'm going to do is simplify. What goes into 325 and 180? 5 goes into both 65 times and 36 times. And so x is 65 pi over 36. And that's 9 radians. So 325 degrees, that's what it is in radians. So first thing you do is set up the proportion. Number 2, cross multiply and divide. And number 3, simplify. This is a listening check. Put a box around all the steps 1, 2, and 3 and color it in. One box around the whole thing and color it in. Alright, so let's take a look at another example. So let's say we were converting 60 degrees into radians. So 60 degrees equals x radians. Again, set it up degrees with degrees. So how many degrees in a radian? 180, and equals pi. So degrees with degrees, radians with radians. Cross multiply and divide. So we're going to divide by 180. And all you have to do there is simplify. So by 10, it becomes 6 and 18. And then by 6, it becomes 1 and 3. So really I have pi over 3 equals x. So 60 degrees is pi over 3. That's what we're saying. Let's take a look at another example. This time let's do radians to degrees. So let's say you're given negative 4 pi over 3. That's radians. And we have to turn it into degrees. So x degrees. Radians with radians. So 1 radian equals 180 degrees. So you see under each other, radians with radians, degree with degree. Cross multiply and divide. So 180 times negative 4 over 3 pi equals pi x. Alright, let me first, before I divide, let me multiply this out. So negative 4 times 180 is going to give me negative 720. So all I'm doing is multiplying it out because it looks like a hot mess. I don't want to divide yet. So that's what I have. And then let me do 720 divided by 3, so I get negative 240. Alright, then divide. So dividing both by pi, well, what's going to happen? All the pi's are canceling out. So we're going to get x equals to negative 240 degrees. So that radian is negative 240 degrees. Let's take a look at one last example. Again, a radian into degrees. So let's say you had pi over 4 radians and you want to turn it into degrees. So pi over 4 equals x degrees, because I don't know how many degrees that is. And then degree with degree, radian with radian. 1 radian is 180 degrees. Cross multiply and divide. 180 times pi over 4 equals pi x. 180 divided by 4 is going to give me 45. So 45 pi equals pi x. Divide both sides by pi. The pi's cancel. So x is 45 degrees. So pi over 4 radians is 45 degrees. That's it.